Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Hello. I wonder if any of the people at the back, Sunday, come on, come up. Come on. Who's up there? Is that David? I can't believe my countryman is hiding at the back. Get up here. Mulishani. Yeah. Okay. We're here for the launch of as you can see behind me, Global Restoration Commitments and Pledges. And this is the 2024 report. And essentially, this is an overview of the global restoration commitments. We've got the gaps, we've got the opportunities, and also the pathways forward. So these are often the reports that we refer back to see how far have we got at the next big gathering. So to present the findings of this report, I'd like to invite Dr. Murali to the stage, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So in India, we actually have a very famous tableist, an instrumental music expert. His name is Zakir Hussain. And his father is also an equally famous tableist. Now, they play tabla at home, and his family all complains, you're making a lot of noise at home. So he's told his family that, look, people pay hundreds of dollars and travel thousands of kilometers to come and listen to me, but you guys don't listen to me. So they said they only have to listen once. Here I have to listen every day. So I was trying to gather my team to be the audience, and nobody wanted to listen to me. So thank you for those who are joining. The report which we are launching today, the Global Restoration Commitment and Pledges, will be one of the most well-read reports in the next 2 years. And I'll explain why. In 2022, when I was asked to lead the Global Land Initiative, I wanted to understand what other initiatives are already in place and what is that additionally we are supposed to do. So since 2010, there's an initiative called the Bond Challenge. Since 2015, UNCCD has the land degradation neutrality. Since 2018, the UNFCCC had the nationally determined contribution. And CBD, the Convention for Biological Diversity, have something called National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. All of them have been committing to restoring degraded land. And in 2021, the Dutch Environmental Agency came with a compilation which almost has an identical name, the Global Restoration Commitment 2021. So they looked at each of these conventions. And it showed that the total restoration commitment at that time was 1.01 billion hectares. Then I looked at the Global Land Initiative, what we are supposed to restore. And that was 1 billion hectares. So I said, my God, it's a very easy job. I don't have to really do anything. Everyone has committed. 115 countries are committed, already committed to 1 billion hectares. I'm supposed to deliver 1.1 billion hectares. So actually, just take it easy. 2 years later, UNCCD came with another report which said that even though the commitments are there, the restoration is not following up. Since then, a lot more new things have happened. There's a Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Protocol, lot more commitment in the UNFCCC. And we thought maybe it's time to do a relook at the global restoration commitment and see what's the current situation. So we asked IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, for them to compile what's the latest commitment from countries. And this is a report which we are launching today. This is also a specific requirement from the last COP, the Conference of Parties, have mandated that such a report should be produced. This is also a mandate from the Global Land Initiative's ministerial decision. So we are also mandated to produce. So it's a report which is sort of legally bound in a international legislation context. So what is that the report is saying? The report is saying very interesting things. Number one, instead of 115 countries, 136 countries have now committed to restoration publicly. And between them, they have now committed to restore 1.2 billion hectares of land instead of 1.02. So 200 million additional hectares of land has been committed. And the best news is that the biggest increase of this is under the UN CCD, land degradation neutrality. So from 470, it has come to 617 million hectares of land to be restored. There's an increased commitment in the UNFCCC process as well. If I recall, it's 23% increase. The commitments under the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan is just reaching 100 million hectares. The commitments under Bond Challenge has marginally decreased. But together, overall, we are doing very well. 1.2 billion hectares. Now, there are more interesting facts. If you were to take the top 10 countries which are committed, so the commitments range anything from 106 million hectares by China to 200 hectares by Barbados. So, a very big range of commitments. And if you are to rank the countries and take the top 10 commitments, between them, already 50% of the 1.2 billion hectares is already committed. Just 10 countries. So what it tells an initiative like the Global Land Initiative is that if you have to focus your attention, even on just 10 countries, you can reach 600 million hectares of restoration. What is even better is that 5 of these top 10 countries are G20 countries. Number 1 at China at 106 million hectares. Number 2 is Saudi Arabia, but not the second commitment, but within G20 countries. Saudi Arabia with 40 million hectares. Number 3 is India with 26 million hectares. Number 4, Australia. And number 5, Brazil. Between these, in the top 10, you have 5 G20 countries, which is very good. If you were to take 50 of the 135 countries, 90% of all the commitments are there. So if you really want to make progress, so you don't have to focus on all the 135 countries, you just have to focus on just 50 countries. And 40 of these countries have committed to restore more than 1 million hectares of land. So from an operational point of view, this is a very important and critical document. And that's why I said this will be a very extremely well-read document. Countries, international NGOs, international financial institutions, all of them will look at this closely and say where to invest their money. But as I said before, the reality is that commitments are growing, but the restoration is not happening. Something else is also happening, which is that the number of databases which are tracking commitment and restoration is increasing. When we started our work, we did a global scanning of how many institutions are there who are tracking and how many databases are there. And there are 42 separate databases tracking restoration. And we were asked to make a 43rd database, and we said, no, we are not creating a 43rd one, we have 42. And that's why we decided to create the Global Restoration Information Hub, which my colleague Abdul Salam has been instrumental in developing. But since we initially estimated 42, we have had 3 more databases. The framework for ecosystem restoration and monitoring by FAO, the contribution to nature by IUCN, and the restoration hub, what is it called? The UNEP. I think it's called the restoration hub by UNEP. So there are 3 more additional databases have come. Even though, as I said, unfortunately, the actual amount of restoration is not increasing. We are also studying why is that even in spite of all this commitment, the restoration is not increasing. And the main reason we find is the lack of national legislations. International commitments are not legally enforceable. National legislation is. That's why we have a flagship project whereby we work with the parliamentarians from around the world to engage them about the need for a national legislation. With the European Union coming with a new legislation on restoration, we now have a global template. It's not that the EU law is just applicable plug and play in another country, but at least we have a reference point with which we can work. I think I will stop at this point and I will invite my colleague Abdul Salam, and who has been instrumental in developing this project, and I will hand over the report formally to him, and then we can take some questions unless Abdul Salam want to say something.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Morali, for really giving me this great opportunity. So I just want to reflect a little bit. I have been with this initiative for 1 year and a half. I joined the initiative May last year to really lead on the information management component. Basically, we need to track land restoration at different scales, from the global, even from the subnational level to the global. When I came to Morali, I said, okay, now I am data-driven person. I like to link information to location. The power of geography, it's part of my life. I need to put myself in 2 dimensions. It's time and space. Without that, we cannot report. So I told Morali, please give me what you have in terms of land restorations. There are many commitments increasing here and there, and I need to get those numbers. I think we had many meetings, and every time we have a meeting, we get more confused. So now we have to be creative. We need to come with some numbers. We need to build the foundation to really inform policymakers on land degradations, on land restoration at a global scale. So we spend many times trying to find numbers, and we came to the conclusion that we need to work with IUCN to really build a foundation, the baseline that from which we can really track land restorations. And this report is really unique, as Morali mentions. It's the first time we're able to really refer to some numbers at different scales. So the report's really detailed and give us overview of the different commitment we have. But there are some issues with basically of data, because the source of the data, the unit, and sometimes hectares, sometimes square kilometers. So, but it's really unique report. That's what I can mention. Is because I spent hours, reviewing the report, engaging with those authors, and they did a really great job. And we put this report on our Global Restoration Information Hub, and user can go there and download data and also interact with database. I can say it's something really unique, and you will see the value of this report in the coming years, because 2 years from now, you can bring the temporal, the time, so you can reflect, see what happened, and this. But also, we are not stopping there. Even we have the data, the report at the national level. The G20 Global Land Initiative is really looking at at the pixel level, because this restoration happening somewhere in the world. So we will, in the coming years, we will bring another dimensions, basically the where concept. Because if one of the countries come and say, we restore this amount of land, the G20 will be able definitely to deploy some remote sensing data, the Earth observation data, to show where those, restoration happen. So again, it's really unique report. Please visit our website. We have it here. You can download the report in PDF, but also we have a comprehensive database in Excel. You can really run some analysis to really compare between countries and also regions. So I will stop there and thank you again for giving this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This is the kind of report that students, research scientists, journalists want to get their hands on, and then will often use it either as a basis, like I said, or for a gotcha question. You said, I've got it here in print. So this is like Murali said, Dr. Murali said, and Abdul Salman. This is one of the reports that we wait for. Any questions from the floor? Yes. Microphone to Wagaki, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love restoration and I love that we're talking about commitments. So my question to you is, there was the previous report that was done by PBL, and I'm curious to know from you how, in terms of the methodology, how comparable these reports are. And so whether we can use, whether this is based on those restoration commitments in terms of increases. And so it's a question of data. How reliable is this data given where we are coming from? How comparable is it? Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good? Yeah.
Yeah. So the last COP decision in Abidjan asked us to look not only at the data, but also at the methodology which is used for that data. So while we are publishing the restoration commitment database, we also have an attached document called the technical document on the methodology, which clearly explains what's the methodology which we have followed. So basically we had 4 international processes: the Bond Challenge, the NDCs, the LDN, and NBSAPs, for those who are familiar with the UN language. Now, in each of these languages, countries would commit to, they will not say, we commit to 26 million hectares. So in Bond Challenge, they may say, we commit to 20% of forest in the country. So you have to actually go and find out how much of forest is there in that country, and then get 26% and so on. So the methodology we have used is aligned with the original methodology, so it's not very different from it. But we still have to go deep dive in each of the country based upon the way in which it has been reported. So what we have done is that not every country has made a new commitment between the last time and this time. So when countries have made a new commitment, we of course took the new commitment. If the countries did not make a new commitment, then we took the last number and produced. So we consider this as a sequence to the last report, and we would have loved to work with PBL, but they had some internal institutional reason why they could not do it, and that's why we worked with IUCN. But the document which I now produced is something which is a lot more value added, because it has all the technical methodology clearly explained, the latest numbers, and therefore we expect this to be very widely used. Thank you.
Any more questions, please? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will download for sure the report and I will read it. Thanks for all the work you have been doing. Talking about data, do you have data about the effect of this regeneration activity on the local climate, on the regional climate, and about the mitigation of global change? Because my feeling is, if the local climate, the regional climate is not affected by this activity, I'm not sure how sustainable the activity can be. Thank you.
It's a very challenging question. The database which we are analyzing, this is what Abdul Salam was saying, they are not even regionally coordinated. So when a country say we will restore 25 million hectares of land, they're actually not saying where is that 25 million hectares. And this database would not say that. But the bigger question which you are asking, which is not in the context of this one, is very important. that are you tracking actual regeneration happening, and if that has an impact on either the microclimate or the macroclimate. There are not enough studies on this, unfortunately, but I think this is an area where we should do a lot more work. Thank you.
Can I
Yes.
comment?
Okay.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
One
yeah.
comment is definitely I agree with Morali. We are still reporting at national level, but restoration happening, at really pixel level, and also across different climate zones. We are going there, and even some people asking us, can we really predict land restoration, land degradation in the coming years, so we can really, see what you're going. But from now, we have data at national level. The data also, we are sitting in 5 decades of archiving data, remote sensing data, can really see if we can, technically is doable, to map spatially restoration across different climate zones. But we are not there. The data is there, the tools there, but the willing is not there yet.
Just one comment, very quickly comment. Thank you. I understand. I agree with remote sensing data. We can assess that. But talking about, for instance, the Great Green Wall, can we say that this must be an objective of the Great Green Wall?
Now, if you ask the objective, absolutely, there is no doubt that you did expect all the greening which is happening in the Middle East. They are expecting there will be more rainfall and so on. So there is that expectation, but as a scientist, there is not enough data to back it up.
Yes, lady. Thank you.
Just a comment. Can I just have a question? I wanted to say that the commitments and pledges remain just commitments and pledges if they do not work towards restoration. So going forward, we need to see countries making effort towards the commitments that are made so that we can see an actualization of what our objective is.
Thank you. Dr. Amias?
Yeah, I think thank you. It's a big success and congratulations, at least to make it to that level. And then I would expect this is a very dynamic process that whenever we get any caveats, I hope we will all contribute and fill it in. I completely agree with the comment that we are not restoring area, we are restoring functions.
As well.
Right? So we are not measuring functions, hydrological functions, biodiversity functions, climate functions, and all these have also their own indicators. LDN, trends in soil organic carbon, for what? Productivity, resilience. No, it's complicated, I know. However, I think understanding that one, and then I would expect when I read the report, it is always good to put the limitations chapter. That's why even these days, any paper I write, a limitation. Look, this was done for this purpose, and the data can be interpreted and used for this reason. So if all these things that we are commenting is indicated, and then that would be really good and then fair, so that we understand this is a caveat the next time, and then we would like to invest, put more effort. Because oftentimes what I don't like most is that we keep repeating investment on the same thing, which is easier to do, but there are some things which are not. So where should money go? To the uncertain areas, because the uncertain part of the whole business is risking business, risking private sector not to come in, and all of us. So we will really try to identify that, and then a bit of guidance on that front if it comes. I think that would really help us, all of us, to really put our hands, put our effort to work on the hard part of it, so that it will really help the whole community. Otherwise, congratulations, and then I hope we will keep improving it. Thank you.
Dr. Amias, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. I hope you will download the report today and have an opportunity to read. It has probably an entire chapter on limitations, and because we are very conscious that this data will be read very closely, and therefore all these limitations on data is included. But also we have explained as to why things are not happening, even though the commitments are there. So yes, we are very cognizant of it. Thank you.
David?
Okay, thank you so much. This is a very important report, I think.
It is.
Yeah, very much important. And I like the fact that you mentioned that there is an initiative at the GLI that is looking at parliamentarians, because they play a very important role when it comes to shaping legislature at country level. I also think that youths are very important to this process. So the question comes to GNI with regards to this. Is there any mechanism that you're using the same way you're involving the Nigerians and other people who are important stakeholders to the land restoration and also just ensure that the pledges and commitment at country level are being enforced?
You're referring to the role of young people, right? Yeah. So we have a very specific work with the young people, and this is led by my colleague Milena here, and also Paula, probably who's working with young people who are right behind this wall. Our hypothesis is that the conventional wisdom that land is degraded, people are migrating, and we should invest in land so that people stay. I think probably that's not the right approach. That people should work on land because land is exciting to work. And we want young people to think of land as a land of opportunities. And land is not something which poor people do. Land is something which young people dream about working on land, improving the land quality, making money in that process. So the work we are doing is to identify young people who are already setting a business of land restoration and supporting them and promoting them. So that's our one of the flagship work which we do. Of course, then we also do the advocacy work as to how do we get young people interested and then push the lawmakers so that they create the political constituency which allow the parliamentarians to take up the issue to the parliament. Thank you.
I have got one final question. I think our next, we've got a gentleman at the back. Our next panel is waiting, so we'll just, we'll wrap in a matter of minutes. Thank you very much.
My name is Siddesh. I'm from India. I work on the land restoration with I can make this my initiative. I get a lot of youth who want to work in this front, but they have like the family pressure that their parents are not allowing them to come into the agriculture or in the sustainable farming.
Is this the next panel? It is.
But they have the control over
And
this.
it's 5 or 5:30?
5:30, but we have a tech check.
That's it. Thank you.
How do we make our parents or convince them that they can allow us to work in the agriculture?
Thank you. I have this constant debate with other members as to where we are born is a cosmic lottery. So we could be born in New York City, or we could be born in an Indian village. The fact that my cosmic lottery happened to be in an Indian village should not compel me to work on the land. Okay, it should allow me to go to New York and work in the stock exchange. And somebody who is in New York, studied in Columbia University, should find land so exciting that they come back to India and work on land. That's the type of world we dream about. That people come to land not because they are born there, not because they want the land, but because land gives them opportunities which allow them to have the aspirational life which young people everywhere has. How do we create that? And how do we use all the modern technologies which we now have access to? All the Internet of Things, all the robotics, all the artificial intelligence. So if you just go and talk to the young people right behind this wall, you will see young people who have university degree, who have PhDs, but they're all setting up business of land. At that point of time, I think your parents will be more happy to work on land. I think parents are unhappy if you actually go back behind the bile and start plowing. Thank you.
Okay, my final question is on the matter of the databases. 45 then, at the last count, 45 databases. Climate change, the problems of degradation and associated issues, it's a global issue. Often it doesn't obey, particularly when it's in the atmosphere, it doesn't obey borders. So when you were tearing your hair out, looking at all these databases and say, my goodness, how do I bring all this information together? Did you ever sit there and think, do you know what? If we did this, did you have a eureka moment? To say, we could get around this issue of so many databases, wasted money, duplication. If only we did this. I mean, we did it with temperatures, we did it with time zones. You know, have you gentlemen are there, you're experiencing that frustration of having to deal with 45 databases. Is there a solution that you think could work? I mean, we are going to have to get to that point, aren't we?
Something which myself and Abdul Salam, we discuss this all the time. Abdul Salam is a solid scientist on remote sensing. In his community, it's extremely well respected. Devasri calls him a superstar every time he go to the remote sensing community. Within the UN, probably is not that understood within the UNCCD system. Now, the new technologies which has emerged, combining remote sensing with machine learning, we now have the potential to cross all these national boundaries and all the reporting constraints which the nations have, and countries feeling like if I report this, or it may look bad, etc. And just look at data as seen from the satellite and come with a global data set, not with the national boundaries. That technology exists. And this is something which we want to work on. Abdul Salam, do you want to add on what we have been discussing?
No, again, Murali and I, sometimes we meet in his office for hours and hours trying to really question ourselves, question also the system. Because we are sitting in 5 decades of data. Since the 70s, there are many satellites scanning the Earth. Right now, we have a data at 30 centimeters available. You really count the number of trees. You can. It also grow different climate zones. So, but I'm dreaming. I wish we can use the power of locations right now, the geography dimensions, to really inform people at really community levels, because at 30 centimeters you can really see what we can do, what we cannot do, because restorations it's a function of many things: biophysical, climate, human dimensions, but we are not making use of what we have right now. The GLI, I think we will explore these new areas. We are, in touch with some data providers as Maxar, Planet, and others. We need to see if we can, at a global scale, to run some analysis and say to the world, here is the map that's showing what we have restored. Now, it's up to the policymakers to go and verify this, but it's doable technically. The data is there, the tools are there, the willing is there. Next year, we'll surprise the entire world at GLI and show at a global scale what happened for the last 40 years.
Fantastic. That's what we want to hear. Yeah, eureka. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Abdul Salam, thank you. Dr. Murali, thank you and congratulations.